Welcome to Lesson 5 of Writing Through the Wardrobe. In this lesson we're going to be talking about exposition. Now, if you know what exposition is, if you've heard writing teachers talk about it, especially screenwriting teachers, you've probably heard that exposition is one of the great sins of writing. Well, that's not quite true, right? Exposition is, there are lots of ways to get exposition wrong. We're going to talk about some of those, but exposition in itself is not necessarily bad. Now, you may not know what exposition is, and that's okay if you don't. Exposition is just explanation. The reason people are down on exposition is simply that, that the whole idea of storytelling, and especially in a visual medium like film or television, the whole idea is to enact. To translate ideas into action, not into explanation. And so with exposition, you are by definition explaining yourself. And well, it is true that you need to minimize exposition. That you do, whether you are writing a story or writing a screenplay to be enacted, it really is good advice to minimize explanation and exposition, and instead to show rather than telling. Right? Exposition is a kind of telling, and your reader is looking to be shown rather than to be told. But nevertheless, exposition is often necessary, and so we're going to talk about that. As I said, exposition is explanation. Sometimes that means providing background information that your reader is going to need in order to understand the story better. Now, most people, when they tell anecdotes, at a party or whatever, they often give way too much exposition, right? They'll say, they're going to tell you a story about the time their cousin picked up a roadkill alligator or whatever, but they back way up and say, well, so here's some things you need to know about my cousin. They think you need to know a bunch of extra information to get the most possible out of the story, so they end up explaining too much about their cousin and the alligator and whatever, right? Well, that's the kind of one of the main. I'm going to talk about two different kinds of exposition, and the first is just providing that kind of background information. Here's our opening lines that we've already referred to about 3 or 4 times already in the first, we're in lesson 5. I think I've pulled this up 4 times now. Once there were 4 children whose names were Peter, Susan, Evan, and Lucy, etc., etc. This is exposition. This is our narrator saying, here's a little bit of information you need to know before we get started. Think about, every Star Wars movie starts with that great music and that crawl, that explains some background that you're going to need to know for this particular movie. Okay, that is, that's one kind of exposition. Probably the most common kind of exposition. A couple things I want you to know about that kind of background information. One is your reader needs less background information than you think. So whatever it is that you think your reader knows, cut that by about 1/3. All right? Your reader probably, so if you're writing a story, you know this much about the background. And you feel like if my reader just understood this much, they'd get more out of it. Well, not necessarily. Your reader probably needs this much. And your reader's willing to wait for it. So first, cut your exposition, your explanation, your background information way down. I mean, I'm saying 1/3. I'm just making stuff up, obviously. I don't know what. There's no way to quantify it because I don't know how much information you think they need, but they need less than you think. Let's put it that way, okay? And then, even once you cut it down to here, you still don't have to put all that in the first paragraph. Right? And I think that's a big mistake writers often make is, I don't want my reader to be confused. I don't want my reader to not know what's going on. Well, your reader is willing to be a little confused. Your reader doesn't mind. Your reader expects to be off balance, as long as they trust that you are not confused and that you are not off balance. Okay? The off balance, that's the whole reason we read a story, is to get off balance. And it's that off balance that really makes you step into the story. You know, as you get a little off balance, you step into the story, and then you get off balance again and you take another step into the story. That imbalance, that's the essence of storytelling. So don't feel like you've got to explain every little thing to your reader. They don't want to know it yet. Right? I always say, when you start telling a story, your reader or your listener immediately starts trying to guess where the story is going. And then if they guess right, they're mad at you. They don't want to be right. And so if you over-explain, if you give too much background, you may be getting into that area where your reader isn't off balance enough. Okay? So your reader doesn't need to know everything that you know, doesn't want to know everything you know, and is willing to wait. Right? Now, it would be a drag if you confuse them on page 1 and then they're still confused at the end, right? You don't want to do that. But if they're a little confused but it doesn't feel like you're accidentally confusing them, they're going to stay with you. That's what they're looking for. So when people get scolded for too much exposition, a lot of times it's this very thing, right? Instead of moving on into the action of the story, the reader says, oh, let me tell you one more thing. Okay, there's one more thing you need to know. There's probably not one more thing your reader needs to know. And so that opening of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe that is very much exposition, well, the exposition's over midway through page 2. And now we're in the action. And that's what you're shooting for, right? When you're telling a story, if you're writing a 10-page story, well, you probably don't even need to have a page and a half of exposition. You need to have half a page of exposition. Just enough to get your reader oriented. And remember, oriented literally just means pointed in the right direction, right? That's all orientation means. And when you're disoriented, it means you don't know which way to point. So you don't want your reader to be completely disoriented. You just want to kind of point them in the right direction. And that's how much exposition you need. And I realize it's kind of hard to know. You just have to experiment with it a little bit and get a feel. But again, your reader doesn't mind being confused. As long as you can help them to trust you that you're going to get them there. Listen, all you're trying to do is get them to the next paragraph. And then the next paragraph after that. That's all you're trying to do. You're not trying to explain everything here at the beginning. So when it comes to background information, so that's one kind of exposition, probably the most common kind of exposition. And the main thing I want to say to you about this kind of background exposition is simply that you don't need as much as you think you need, and you don't need it immediately. Okay, the second definition of exposition is just the explanation of an idea or a theory. And if you've seen science fiction movies where the scientist in the white lab coat comes in and says, the generals say, "What do we have here, scientist?" And he says, "Well, they explain some scientific theory that's going to be the whole basis of the movie," right? That's exposition also. Whenever I see somebody in a white lab coat in a movie, I think, oh boy, here we go. We got some exposition coming up. Explanation of an idea or a theory. Now, one thing I want you to think about, often it is the idea or the theory that gets us started writing a story in the first place, right? You've got a big idea, a theory you want to explore in fiction. And that's what gets you started in the first place. And that is perfectly fine. Now, it's really important that you understand that explaining theories and ideas is not what fiction is about, right? It might be what got you started and got you interested. Maybe you have an idea about, even in Lewis, I don't want to get ahead of myself. In Mere Christianity, he talks about this big idea of the so-called trilemma we're about to get into. And chapter 5 is just a fictional outworking of that theological idea of Lewis's trilemma, which he, in one place, in Mere Christianity, treated as just straight exposition. An essay or a sermon kind of is exposition. You're there to explain some big idea. And so when you're writing fiction, again, forgive me for being repetitive, it may be that big idea is what got you started, but you have to be careful about explaining that idea. But sometimes you got to do a little explanation. A good way to do that, if you can't avoid doing it at all, if there's no way to avoid exposition, Well, sometimes it's helpful to put it in dialogue, and so that's what we're going to talk about here in a minute. It is in a dialogue between the professor and Susan and Peter that Lewis gives us the exposition that he wants us to have in his explanation of his idea or theory. So the theory and the idea that sort of is behind chapter 5 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is the same idea that he spells out in Mere Christianity. And we call it the trilemma. You think a dilemma is a difficult choice between two things, right? That's a dilemma. Well, a trilemma is a choice between three things. And from Mere Christianity, what Lewis said was, listen, don't give me the idea, don't give me the business about Jesus was a good man with good teachings, but he wasn't God. He says either he was a crazy person, or he was a liar, or he was the Lord. He was who he said he was. But he can't be all three, right? If he's the Lord, he can't be crazy and he can't be a liar. So you got to choose, but you can't have it. You can't have it all. And so I'm not actually going to read through this because I just summarized it to my satisfaction and hopefully to your satisfaction. But that's the so-called trilemma, and it took, as you can see, he devotes some real exposition to that. Well, how do you, if that's an idea you want to express in fictional form? Now it may be, and there are times in the Narnia Chronicles where you can see in Mere Christianity or in the Abolition of Man ideas that inform that, but he never explains, right? But for some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason, I think it's for obvious reasons, he feels the need to explain the trilemma here. He doesn't strictly just act it out in dramatic action. He actually has somebody sit down and say, so here are some things you need to know. And as I said, he does it in dialogue. And in storytelling, this kind of exposition, this kind of explanation we're about to get to, it's much better if you don't just have the narrator interrupting and doing some explanation. It's much better if you can find a natural way for that explanation to happen in dialogue. But it's also exceedingly important that it really feel like a natural conversation between people. We got to have a situation in which people in this situation would actually talk this way, instead of the characters are really talking to the reader. Like you don't want to be in a situation where you're really just, it's really the professor talking to the reader, but he's pretending to talk to the kids, right? It really has to feel like he's talking to the kids. And I think Lewis does a great job here. So when Peter and Susan come to the professor and say, hey, we're afraid, Lucy's losing it. She's been talking about going to this imaginary land, all this kind of stuff. Then he cleared his throat and said the last thing either of them expected. How do you know, he asked, that your sister's story is not true? Oh, but, began Susan, and then stopped. Anyone could see from the look on his face that he was perfectly serious. Then Susan pulled herself together and said, but Edmund said they'd only been pretending. And then I'm skipping, and he says, there are only three possibilities. Either your sister is telling lies, or she's mad, or she's telling the truth, which is pretty much the same thing he says in Mere Christianity about Jesus. You know she doesn't tell lies. It's obvious that she's not mad. For the moment then, and unless any further evidence turns up, we must assume that she's telling the truth. All right. I guess it's really for each of us to judge for ourselves as readers. But for my money, this exposition is very convincing, right? I believe that conversation feels like a real conversation to me. It feels to me like if Peter and Susan came to the professor it makes sense to me that they would come to him with that question, and B, it makes sense to me that he would answer their question in these terms. And here's the reason I point that out. A story is not just a matter of conveying information to your reader. It's not mostly a matter of conveying information. There's a certain amount of information that has to be conveyed. That's true. But it's really about experience. It's really about creating an experience that your reader can believe. It's really about inviting your reader into a world that feels like a real world, where that has texture. You know, we've already talked about the idea that that the snow is falling and the fawn Tumnus has his tail, you know, wrapped over his arm. You know, in that sense, in terms of the physical facts of Narnia, Lewis is working pretty hard to make that feel like a real world, right? But it's just as important that people's interpersonal, you know, relations and reactions to one another feel real, feel like what we experience in the world God made. And if you don't succeed in making that work, that experience, the experiencing part of the brain, then your reader's not going to believe any explaining you want to do. So I'm not, by the way, using anything resembling you know, psychologically sophisticated language here. I'm just going to say there's a part of your brain for figuring stuff out, and there's a part of your brain for experience, and some of that, you know, much of that being sensory experience. All right, and you're trying to keep this experiencing part of the brain engaged all the time. And if you fail to engage the experiencing part of the brain, none of this figuring out part of the brain is going to do it, right? And so you can explain big ideas, but if you're just writing a story that provides just enough of a scaffolding for you to then, you know, do some explaining, you're not going to teach your reader anything. If you're there to teach your reader and not to give your reader an experience, you're not going to succeed in teaching them. And so this exposition, I don't know why I'm pointing to my notes, the exposition you saw up here on the board a minute ago works not just because it makes logical sense. It works because it feels like, you know, the experience of two children in a professor's room getting some advice from him. All that feels real. All that feels true. It feels like what might actually happen in the world God made. And so whatever exposition you feel like you need to do in your storytelling, you can't do it at the expense of experience. You're always, and so hopefully you understand what I'm talking about here. The experience of being in the room with Peter and Susan and the professor, that felt like a real experience. And then when the professor said this, you know, when the professor launches into this explanation, that feels real too, and that feels true, and it feels convincing because the experience was convincing. What's her name? Ayn Rand. Now I can't remember if it's The Fountainhead. One of those books of Ayn Rand. You know, Ayn Rand was motivated by this philosophy of, now I can't remember what it's called. Doesn't matter. She wrote stories for the purpose of communicating some big idea. Positivism. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. And so in one of her books, somebody stands up to make a speech, and then the speech goes on for, I don't know, something like 100 pages. And it's like the only reason this little bit of a story existed was so this person could give a speech that's just what Ayn Rand would have said anyway, if she had just written a story if she just written an essay. All right, that is what we call terrible exposition. All right, and so exposition isn't bad in itself, but minimize it, dribble it out, you know, over the course of a long space, and this is the most important thing, whatever else happens, make sure it is happening in a setting that feels like real life, and doesn't feel like a character is really talking to the reader. So remember, in the beginning, again, in those opening paragraphs of The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, the narrator is directly addressing the reader. The narrator just unapologetically says, basically, hey reader, here's some things you need to know. We're out of scene, right? We're not observing characters. We're just listening to the narrator tell us a few things we need to know. And that's one kind of exposition. Keep that really, really short, and you can get away with it on page 1 a lot better than you can get away with it on page 100. And then that other kind of exposition where we're just sort of explaining some kind of big idea, In fiction, that usually happens in dialogue, and you need to make sure, you need to pay as much attention to making that dialogue feel natural and feel real as you do to the explanation itself. Because if your reader understands your motives as a writer more than they understand the character's motives, they will not believe the story. Okay? So if I had read, if Lewis had somehow done that scene badly, and what I saw was, this is C.S. Lewis trying to explain a trilemma to me, not the professor trying to explain a trilemma to Peter and Susan, we'd all be out. We wouldn't care anything about it. All right? If your reader understands, anytime, and you've done this yourself in your reading, you've seen, or maybe you watched a movie where the characters do something really dumb that nobody would really do in a movie. You understand why the movie maker made them do that, right? We've got to get these people from San Diego to L.A., for the sake of the story, but there's no reason these people would have actually left San Diego to go to L.A. in that situation, especially in things like scary movies. People are always doing dumb stuff in scary movies because the filmmaker has to get them into the woods so that the monster can get them or whatever. Don't do that, right? Make sure your characters' motivations make sense. And sometimes you've got to get rid of your own agenda to let the characters do what they want to do. All right, I think that's all we got here. Yes, that's the end. Exposition. Next lesson we're going to be talking about dialogue. So I will see you in lesson 6.